Alright, let's be fair here. I don't usually play soulslike games because I don't have the reflexes for that anymore, but when I do, I at least expect them to have some personality. AI Limit unfortunately feels like it was assembled from the spare parts of better games, yet somehow it manages to drain all the life out of them in the process. It's got all the usual genre staples: slow, deliberate combat, an oppressive atmosphere, and cryptic storytelling, but it never quite justifies its own existence. So let's dive in and see what works, what doesn't, and whether the world really needed another one of these. If you enjoy honest and critical takes on games like this, don't forget to like the video and support the channel so I can try more of these and embarrass myself further.
Welcome, Seeker of the Branch.
You play as Orisa, a cybernetic warrior navigating a post-apocalyptic world that's equal parts dreary and vague. There's something about a catastrophic event, a deadly infection, humanity's desperate struggle to survive. If that all sounds familiar, it's because AI Limit borrows heavily from every bleak sci-fi narrative you've ever encountered, throwing in cryptic dialogue and half-baked lore dumps in an attempt to seem profound. To its credit, there are some intriguing moments sprinkled throughout, but they never coalesce into something engaging. It's the kind of story where you're expected to piece things together from environmental storytelling and item descriptions, except the world isn't interesting enough to make you care. It's all just so grey. While games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne create beauty from decay, AI Limit just looks lifeless. The environments feel empty, sterile, and lacking in any real character. There's an attempt at a cyberpunk meets ruins aesthetic, but it ends up feeling like a tech demo for generic dystopia 101. The enemy designs don't help either. Expect the usual mix of malformed creatures and humanoid husks that might as well have wandered in from another game. There's nothing distinct here, nothing that makes you say, oh, that's from AI Limit. No, instead it's just the greatest hits collection of things you've already fought a dozen times before, but without any of the impact. Now, I'll give credit where it's due. Some of AI Limit's mechanics show promise. There's a decent level of fluidity in combat, with weighty weapon strikes and a variety of moves that feel satisfying to land. There's also a customization system that allows you to tweak your character's abilities, adding some depth beyond just hit enemy, dodge, repeat. But even here, it's hard to shake the feeling that you've seen it all before. The stamina-based combat, parries, and dodge roll mechanics are almost one-to-one with Neo, Code Vein, or any number of similar titles. It works, but at this point, just working isn't enough to make a game stand out in an oversaturated genre. This is where AI Limit really starts to fall apart. Every aspect of the game feels like it was lifted from somewhere else but implemented with less finesse. The world design screams Dark Souls, the combat mechanics borrow liberally from Neo, and the aesthetic flirts with Code Vein without ever committing to anything unique. It's a game that wears its influences on its sleeve but doesn't seem to understand why those influences worked in the first place. It's not that inspiration is a bad thing. Plenty of great games borrow ideas from others. The problem is that AI Limit does so without adding anything new. It's like a cover band that only plays the most basic renditions of classic songs. Sure, you recognize the tunes, but you'd rather listen to the originals.
Finally.
Blader?
Yes.
The voice.
Sense Games, the studio behind this game, isn't exactly a household name, and after playing this I can see why. This appears to be their first major title, and while it's impressive from a technical standpoint that they pulled off a functional game, it also feels like they played it too safe. Instead of carving out their own identity, they took the safest possible route, copy what worked before and hope people don't notice. Maybe with more experience, they'll develop their own voice, but AI Limit feels more like a proof of concept than a true standout in the genre. Look, I get it. Soulslikes are popular. The idea of a tough but fair action RPG with deep mechanics and a rich world is an enticing one, but the market is so flooded with these games that any new entry has to bring something fresh to the table, and AI Limit just doesn't. If you're absolutely starved for another take on the formula, you might get some enjoyment out of this, especially if you don't mind the uninspired art direction and generic enemy designs. But for anyone looking for a game that stands out in the genre, you're better off replaying Bloodborne or Neo. At the end of the day, AI Limit isn't a terrible game, it's just there, and with so many better alternatives, just there isn't enough. Thank you for watching our video, drop a like and subscribe to help us out, and have a great day!